I want to share Ella's story with you. She reached out and she said, my parents had opposite personalities. Dad was extremely extroverted. Mom was extremely introverted. My dad was away a lot on business, and my mom got used to running everything on her own. I wouldn't say they had fights, but my father would shout at my mom, call her names, and she would just sit there and cry. The final straw was when my dad met a young female coworker. She was more sociable than my mom and understood my dad's business dealings better. They fell in love. At the time, the prevailing attitude was that it was better for parents to split up than stay in an unhappy marriage. Kids were resilient and they would be fine. So my parents divorced. 3 months later, my dad married his coworker. At the time, I was relieved that all the shouting and crying were over. My dad lived in a big city and it was exciting to visit him. His new wife acted more like a sister to me than a mother. She took me shopping and she was very fashionable, so my teenage self liked that very much. It wasn't until my late 30s that I realized how damaged I was from my dad's abandonment and the subsequent divorce. Unlike many children of divorce, I never blamed myself. It was very clear that my parents were mismatched and my dad was a bully. When asked how the divorce had impacted her, Ella said this: I was promiscuous as a teen, and it got even worse after my own divorce. I was hopeful and trusting that every guy that I met was the one who would love and cherish me and take care of me. I'd meet a guy and already be fantasizing about being married after 2 or 3 dates, if we even got to that point. Ella, I'm so glad you shared your story with me. A few thoughts. One, it's so common to assume that you're fine after your parents get divorced. After all, the fighting is over. Maybe your parents even seem happier, so shouldn't you be happier too? But just like you found, so often the wounds are there. We're just blind to them. We're not aware of them. We're silently carrying them around with us, carrying those hidden wounds. And they so often don't surface until maybe your 20s or your 30s or maybe even later. The prevailing attitude that you mentioned, where it's better for parents to split up than stay in an unhappy marriage, is still around today. But the research that I've seen says that unless it's a high conflict situation where there's things like abuse or violence, it's better for the kids if mom and dad work through it. Now, if they can't have a happy marriage, providing a stable one or a relatively stable one is better than a divorce for the children, even if it requires a ton of sacrifice from the parents. You also mentioned being a promiscuous teen. That was me. I fell into that. I fell into porn and other bad habits as a way to just numb all the pain that I was experiencing because of my parents' split. Now, thankfully, I haven't gotten divorced, but you probably know that children of divorce are 2 to 3 times more likely to get divorced than our peers who come from intact families. So you're not alone. And I don't believe that we're doomed to repeat our parents' divorce, but we're more likely to go through that. So we have to work a lot harder. And so, Ella, thank you again for sharing your story. If you watching this, if you want to share your story anonymously about your parents' divorce or separation or just the dysfunction at home, we'd love to hear it. Just go to restoredministry.com/story to share your story anonymously.